Remember. Remember the sky that you were born under. Know each of the stars' stories. Remember the moon, and know who she is. Remember the sun's birth at dawn, that is the strongest point of time. Remember sundown and the giving away tonight. Remember your birth and how your mother struggled to give you form and breath. You are evidence of her life and her mother's and hers. Remember your father, he is your life also. Remember the earth whose skin you are, red earth, black earth, yellow earth, white earth, brown earth. We are earth. Remember the plants, trees, animal life, who are all have their tribes, their families, their histories too. Talk to them, listen to them. They are alive poems. Remember the wind, remember her voice. She knows the origins of this universe. Remember you are all people, and all people are you. Remember you are this universe, and this universe is you. Remember all is in motion, is growing, is you. Remember language comes from this. And remember the dance language is, that life is. Remember. So again, that was from Joy Harjo from the Muskogee Nation. And I just wanted to start with something that could ground us in a way to remember of what we have around us. And as coming from the indigenous nation, from the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe, when we introduce ourselves, we say, Nu Tomas Masipiat. So that means my blood and my bones come from this place that we called Mashpee. Masipi is the place of the big waters. So the largest pond on Cape Cod is in Mashpee, and that's where we get our name from. It's very sacred space to us. It's where the convergence of two waters is. So our herring actually come up this convergence of the river from the ocean to spawn in our ponds. So this has always been a sacred ceremonial place for us. And so Mashpee is just one tribe of the Wampanoag Nation. The Wampanoag Nation is comprised of 69 tribes, which only 3 are really present here today still. And our 69 tribes were actually deceased before the colonists came over on the Mayflower, and it was really at a time when we were exposed to trade. So we lost a lot of our nation to disease and yellow fever and things like that. So actually when, the Mayflower came ashore on those lands, they were on the shores of what we knew as a burial site at that time. So it had a lot to do with the reasons why we interacted the way that we did with those voyagers that came on that boat with the women and children and men, because the place that they decided to live was such a morbid place in a way, and it was still trying to recover. So that had a lot to do with how our ancestors greeted those ancestors and really taught them, within that way, seeing that they are coming and not knowing anything. And so that puts a lot of understanding, and that's something as a tribal person we have to really wrap our heads around a lot of the times with trying to grow up in this world and having to live in both worlds, and knowing that we are those first contact people and having that responsibility of greeting the sun. So we are people of the first light, and it is our duty to greet the sun as he rises and goes over to the West Coast to our Western relatives. And we hold that responsibility very, very dear. And I'll back up to and tell you a little bit of the history of Mashpee so it could get to the point of how we're kind of acting within rights of nature. So Mashpee was incorporated into a town in 1820 against the natives' wishes. So we voted time and time again not to be a town because we knew what it meant, but the Mass Bay colonies thought it was within our best interest. So that's when we started to lose a lot of our lands because it was divvied out to individuals, and then there was taxes on those lands that we weren't part of that system yet to be able to upkeep with it. And in our way, we don't, when we say like our land, so Natakim, it's an extension of ourselves. So it's an extension off of our feet. So we don't have that value system of owning property. So that was that value system, and getting to the point that we are today it was a biggest reason why we lost a lot of that, connections within when the colonies were being created and what we are into the United States of America now. So with that value system and that concept, we always lived in harmony with nature, and we know to honor our natural relatives, and we honor them in all ways. And our value system, indigenous value system, is at a point, within our creation stories, it's at a point where non-natives are ready to listen, and we are ready to speak up louder. So a lot of the times we have been watching and humbly living within our own self and within our own ways, and keeping our stories to ourselves and just speaking to those that want to listen. But now within our creation stories, within Mother Earth and what she needs, it's time for us to speak up more for our natural relatives. And we know it's time to speak up because we know it's the time for those to listen. So as we speak, we humbly speak in a way that is a way for us to express our voices, because our natural relatives don't have that gift of the voice, and we hold that responsibility dear. So within that, we see what's going on around us and what Mother Earth needs in this climate crisis, and how she's calling for help, and she's renewing herself in different ways. And within us, we know that Mother Nature is going to renew herself. It's just a means if we're going to be here, when that happens. So when we're speaking in those terms. We're speaking as a cry for help for her and for all of her children, including us. And so within that, to our point of what rights of nature is, we've gotten to a point within this U.S. government system where we can be recognized as a U.S. government. So the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe decided to go through that route, and they actually decided to do that to try and obtain more land back. So as we slowly work on that, one of our methods of trying to help Mother Earth is through rights of nature. So rights of nature is it's basically the Western translation of what our indigenous values are. So it's a legal instrument to be able to advocate for those natural relatives. So the Western legal system and value system makes it so you have to put the rights that your mother gave you when you were born, that the Creator gave us, on paper. So there's a standing within their legal system of court. So within our indigenous values and within our colonial structure that we decided to partake in by being federally recognized, we're converting that value. So the same way that humans decided that they needed to put their rights down to be able to fight in court, we're doing that same thing for our natural relatives. So we're putting their Aboriginal right, their natural rights to live in a healthy environment without harm on paper. So when it comes to that day that they might need to be defended in court in the Western legal system, that we have something to be able to have standing within there and protect them. So this is all just to kind of bring it all to the presence of how we are still working, and we're all within the communities, within our communities. Indigenous people are within your community every day. This is our ancestral homelands, and we do our work within different ways within that. So we have to keep our stories and keep connected and be out within Mother Nature and be with the forest and with the stars and with the sky and the water. And at the same time, we have to dance in this kind of play that they have for this Western legal system and all that it comes with, and try and instill those values, because it's at that point in our world that we need to. And I do this with a group of youth. So as what Dawn mentioned earlier, I'm a youth advisor for the Mashpee Wampanoag Native Environmental Ambassadors, and that is a youth group from 14 and up, and they're the ones that kind of go out and speak on our natural relatives' behalf. And our first campaign, we'll say, or our first act of legislation is the rights of herring. So they've been, for about a year and a half, been going around and educating folks like yourself on what this concept is. And that's why why I come to different communities and in environments that aren't so comfortable for me always. But it's because it's that time where, like I had mentioned before, that it's that time to listen. So within that way, we come and we explain who we are as a people and how we are still here and how we still go in the grocery stores with you all folks, and we live and go to school and learn the same things. But we also hold on to that value system before this time, right now, for us to get this opportunity to speak in front of like-minded folks like yourself, to hear, the cries of what's going on around you, to hear the cries of the trees, to hear the cries of the fish in the water, and remember what you're doing every day and how you can help within that. And also where the indigenous people fit in that. Because we've had to make a lot of sacrifices for our neighbors to live and to live with our neighbors. And having that understanding and remembering that we do still have that connection is important when it comes time to make these decisions. Because not always are we in those authoritative jurisdiction roles to make those decisions. But there are people that are in those roles and that know someone that knows somebody, like the situation that got me here today. So within that, that's why we speak, and that's why I am here. And I appreciate you guys all for listening to me kind of go on a spiel about what we do and who I am. Sometimes it's a hard place to be on this side, but it's also a hard place to be on that side. As the history is strong here, and it's not the best, it's not always the, I guess we'll say the lightest within that way. And, recognizing that is key, Land acknowledgments in a way is a slap in the face to a lot of Native folks. And the acknowledgement isn't that everything was stolen. It's more come to a point of reconciliation, right? Ugh, you guys know what I'm saying. Oh, geez. It's that Sunday morning for me, so I'm still trying to get through it, but it's come to that point, and I appreciate you guys listening to me spiel, like I said, and try and get through my words. But it's a heavy load to lift, and especially as a younger generation. And I appreciate the ears of you guys all today, and your words that you guys all mentioned, and being within the community. It's very sacred what you guys have here, and I honor that, and I'm humbly standing in front of you with everything that I have to say. And as long as you remember those words and remember the poem and keep that within your everyday of life and keep moving forward, that's what I can ask of you. And that's what I'm thankful for you, because I know within intentions of being here today that you have intentions to do good, and I appreciate that. And I do say that with all humbleness that I come before you today. And if you guys do have any questions, I will stay a little bit later so we could go back and forth, because I know sometimes there's a lot of questions. And I did have so much more I was going to be saying, and of course when you go up and you see everybody and you just kind of take everything in, it's like, oh, all those go out the window and you just say what comes. So that's what kind of happened today. So I hope you guys will appreciate that and know that it's coming from a genuine place, and I'm reading your energy and feeding back off of that of what to say, and knowing that I don't have to say everything that I normally have to say. So I appreciate that very much. And that's